Supercross. First up, the director of motorsports over there at Feld Racing, a guy I've known for a long time, a good friend of mine, Dave Prater. What's up, Dave? How are you, man?
I'm good, Steve. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem. Also on the line, he's the director of Supercross, and he definitely has the boots on the ground at every single weekend of this thing. Mike Muye. Mike, what's going on, man? How are you?
Steve, good, buddy. How you doing?
We're good, man. Thanks for joining us, guys. First up, Dave, you and I go a ways back. The Indianapolis weekend of the Monster Energy Supercross Series must have been something, Dave, that you can't even put into words as far as on again, off again, what you guys were going to do. The track was built. That first weekend, Dave, must have been complete chaos.
It was. It was something I never thought, we'd have to face, and I think obviously we're all in this situation on this planet. But as far as that week went, that day, it was just crazy. Like Sean Brennan, our director of PR, had riders in television studios in Indianapolis that morning. I believe he was there before 8 o'clock, and I was driving to work Thursday prior to Indy, and got a call from the stadium, and they wanted to do a conference call at 9:30 and to discuss the situation. So got to the office, sat down, got the group together, and got on the phone. And at that point, probably 11 or so, we had made the decision that we're going to have to run the event with no fans in the stadium. And obviously that's something we never anticipated and something we never wanted to do.
Yeah.
But given the situation, that was really all that was going to be feasible. So, Mike and I got all the teams, all the OEMs on the phone, explained to them the situation, probably hung up with them about 12:30, and the stadium called us back and said, hey, we need to get on the phone again. So that was probably 1:30, and that's when we went through different scenarios because the governor had put a 250-person limit on any public gatherings, and we did everything we could to get our numbers below that 250 mark, and there was no way around it with the venue staff and just the number of people that it takes operationally to put on, and the riders and mechanics and such to put on the event. By about, I'd say 3:30, we got word from the mayor of Indianapolis, and then at 5 o'clock we had to pull the plug and cancel the event. So literally from 8 a.m. 7:30 it was status quo, go time, and by 5 p.m.
less than 12 hours later, whole thing was done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically a 8-9 hour workday.
Right. Wow. And Mike, for you, so Indianapolis is canceled. And we know we're kind of watching the NBA, NHL, but at this point, we're thinking, okay, maybe the next weekend. But Mike, but Vegas and Salt Lake should be fine. I mean, at least that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we were thinking right along. We were hoping that it was an isolated incident in Indianapolis and we'd be able to move on. But, as I think we all kind of watched online and on TV, that was changing literally by the minute. Dave and I were both in war rooms pretty much all day on Thursday, all day on Friday, trying to figure out what the next steps were. And as soon as we thought we had the direction, something else would change. So it was just constantly moving and trying to figure out what our target was going to be next.
Yeah, God, I can't even imagine the logistics and everything else of canceling a Supercross event. It's mind blowing. So we all know what's happened since then, and we're on pause right now. Dave, looks like we're going to be going in the fall. That's the tentative. I mean, nobody knows, for sure what we're doing, but are you hoping to get all 7 rounds in the fall? Is that the tentative, let's call it penciled plan right now, Dave?
Yeah, that's the plan. So the plan is to get rounds 11 through 17 in by the end of 2020.
Okay.
So, it was surprising because I expected when we first brought this to the teams and the OEMs, I expected it to be kind of a mixed bag. I didn't know what they were thinking. I thought we'd get some that wanted to do 2 more rounds, 3 more rounds, whatever it was, but it was unanimous from the start that everyone felt it was important to get all 7 rounds in, as did we. So that's our goal. That's what we're shooting for, and we'll just have to see how it plays out. Like you said, it's just the situation is so fluid that it changes not just day by day, it changes hour by hour. So we're just trying to keep an eye on everything and make plans accordingly.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. Mike, is the plan for, and it's sort of whatever you want to tell us you can, some double headers, some races in the same venue? Is that kind of, because I see problems getting it, because everyone's going to be lining up for the fall, and of course all the leagues want to kick started in college and NFL. Mike, so are we trying to put them all into one city or two or 3 cities, or what do we know as far as that?
I mean, we're looking at all options. Obviously, like you said, looking at all of the stadiums in the entire U.S., and literally that's what we've been doing. There's only a select few that have the availability that we could even race Supercross in. So a little too early to tell or go into much detail on what specific venues and what locations we're looking at and how that schedule would pan out. Obviously we got to coordinate with all of our partners, the race teams, the riders, to come up with something that makes sense.
Yeah, it's got to be, again, just logistically incredible. Is there a chance, Mike, that we hold races in the fall without fans? Do you think it – I mean, obviously, we'll have to pay attention to CDC and everything else that's going on, but I know from, some of the leagues have said, hey, we may start back up, but we might not have fans. And certainly that's got to be something, Mike, that's crossed your mind.
I mean, yeah, of course, it makes sense we're watching, the CDC and what they say, what the president says, all of that every single day, and trying to dissect it into what makes sense. So I wouldn't say that it's out of the question to race without fans. It's not our goal, but it is something that's definitely on our minds.
Dave, my wife got laid off today. Our video guy here, Travis, he got laid off his job. For you, Dave, as a guy that's been there from Feld to Clear Channel to Live Nation to, I'm probably forgetting a company in there, we know that the Supercross Feld folks laid off most everybody. That had to have been a tough day for you, Dave.
Yeah, it definitely was a tough day. I mean, with the widespread government mandated closures of public gatherings, we were forced to shut down all of our tours company wide. So, I mean, that's what we do. So, and we hope to resume operations soon. There's no assurance of when that will happen, but Mike and I are doing everything we can and planning as much as we can so that when we finally see that light at the end of the tunnel, we can pull the trigger and get back to work. So
does that include getting Tyler back as announcing gig? Because he really okay.
That includes getting Tyler. I'm telling you, I actually may call him this Saturday just to hear him talk.
Right. Oh, you're good, Ty. You're back.
We're back. I'm part of the team.
Because I heard rumors where it was postponed, kind of because they weren't happy with you, Ty. But I'm good. Good to know.
I did.
I had nothing to do with that guy.
That's good to hear. It's it's an unprecedented time in our sport for sure. Dave, was there any? And I think I know the answer to this, but no. I mean, there was no cancellation of the series. Like that's what I was getting from people on social and all this, and I'm like, nothing is canceled, people. Eli Tomac is not your champion just yet. Calm down, everybody.
No. We actually never discussed it. We never considered it. We did, as I said, the first thing we did once we canceled that event was to get on the phone with the OEMs and the teams. I think we were on the phone with that group at least 3 times on Thursday, and that was the first thing we asked was, all right, so it's our intention to finish these 7 rounds. We just want to make sure you all agree. And like I said, unanimously they did. So that was never even brought up in any of our meetings.
Something I did hear was brought up a little bit, Dave, from people I know was some of the teams, if not, seems like the majority of the teams really wanted to finish Supercross before going to outdoors, and I get that for obvious reasons. It riders' contracts and jumping different sizes, and then there's championships that need to be protected here. The Supercross are very, very important to these OEMs, and a lot can happen in 22 outdoor motos. Was there any talk with MX Sports and Davey to try to get something in before the Nationals and push the Nationals further back at all? Was that – because I know, like I said, from talking to some teams, that's what they preferred. How close did that come to happening?
Well, I could tell you, so Thursday night, once I finally got home, I called Davey and Carrie, and we had a fairly long conversation. And at that point, it was just really myself laying out the facts because obviously they were in the process of planning for the season, but weren't necessarily in the midst as we were. So we were living it in real time. So brought up the facts, explained the situation, and left it at that. And then the next day, Carrie and Davey both had called back, and we had another conversation. And MX Sports has been great through all of this. They actually worked and pushed back their season to June 13th, as everyone knows, and in hopes that we could, finish at least a portion of the Supercross rounds, if not all of them. So, like I said, they were great. They've been nothing but helpful, and we've been on the phone quite a few times just discussing the overall situation. But, I think everyone's been watching the news the last few days, and it doesn't appear that even that June 13th date is going to be enough for us to get Supercross rounds in. So at this point, we're just watching the windows and trying to find that gap and jump on the opportunity when it arrives.
I'm a little skeptical that June 13th race goes off, if I'm being honest, just from everything we see and hear, and for other leagues starting up, other major gatherings starting up, I'm a little skeptical, but we'll see. It's good to have a date. But for you, Mike, the teams, like I said, the teams that I talked to, they want to finish the Supercross, and I understand why. Chase Sexton jumping from 250 to 450, and Eli and Kenny locked in this duel. But Mike, I was telling some other team people, I mean, this is unprecedented times. Sorry, it's going to be a little inconvenient. We got to get this in, and as much as I understand these teams' issues, Mike, we got to go racing this way. This is how it has to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think in talking with all of the teams, they've all communicated to us that it's important to finish out the season. Each of them has their own set of challenges that we've talked through with them, as well as the AMA, Pelletier over there, to try and figure out what the best solution is for everybody. I mean, it's never going to be ideal for all involved at the point or the juncture that we're at right now. So really it's kind of what makes the best sense for the overall group, and let's move in that direction. And that's really what we're trying to do right now and have been trying to do over the past couple of weeks is progress forward in a way that makes sense for the overall health of the sport.
It's going to be inconvenient for everybody, including the off-season European races, the media, the teams. Sorry, we're in a pandemic here. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I feel a little bit. Mike Muye and Dave Prater from Feld Motorsports, brought to you by roostmx.net. Use the code PulpNation to save. Adam, you have a question?
Yeah. What's up, boys? I miss you guys. First of all,
you, bud. Miss you too, bud.
I know we're looking towards fall to be racing, and everybody's skeptical. If you what area in percentage is it that we would be racing in fall? Can you even give us that? And then the next question would be, is Monster Cup just completely out of the question? Would that get pushed back? Is that something you guys are even thinking about? Where are we at with that?
So here, there's multiple questions there, but I don't know what the percentage is. I'd tell you something today, and it may change tomorrow, or it may change by 9 p.m. tonight. So, the goal is the race. That window appears to look like it's going to be in the fall, but that could change as well. The major, and Steve brought it up, but the major issue right now is everything's on hold, including Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, the NHL, everything. So when that window opens back up, everybody's going to be vying for, first off, a venue to play in, and most obviously, like for instance, Monster Energy Cup, the LA Galaxy play there. So right now, yes, we have that date held and the venue, but if anything happens with the MLS season, the Galaxy is going to go to Dignity Health Sports Park and say, hey, we need this date, and they're the home tenant, so they're obviously going to take precedence. So there's just so many things that are moving around and sliding that until we see more dates lock into place, it's just tough to predict.
Okay.
One of the things we're looking forward to is the NFL schedule being announced, and it's supposed to come out, I believe, April 16th. Now, on a normal year, we could say, yeah, we're gonna hear it, but that may get postponed. So,
can we run 7 rounds in St. Louis, Prater? Can we do that? Can we go to St. Louis? They got to be open.
They are open, but perfect example. So St. Louis, they have an RV show in there in the middle of September, early October. So aside from sporting events, a lot of these places have other concerts, flash shows, whatever it may be.
Right.
So last question for you boys.
Last question from you.
Yes, last question from me.
I have some other things to say.
Yes. Last question.
Okay.
How late do you guys push the Supercross series? Say this goes farther and farther. Do you wait till December and we run all 7 rounds and then go back into Anaheim 1? Or do you guys say if we can't make it by December, then we don't get to race? I mean, have you guys thought about that? Is that something that came to mind, or are you just trying to get to the fall?
I'll let Mike answer it. I have an answer, but I'll let him answer it.
I mean, I think we're trying to get to the fall. Obviously, with everything changing as fast as it is, we're monitoring it, coming up with some contingency plans on what that would look like. But it's really too early to tell. We're kind of targeting in on later in the year to host the events, and what later in the year is something that is still TBD.
Yeah. You know what's look, and it's never a good thing for the series to be postponed and everything else, Mike. But damn it, what a year we've been having. This was epic, Mike. Every single weekend, great racing. We had so much to talk about. I know from my years in the media, I couldn't get enough of some of the races that were going on and the battles and everything else. It was awesome. I guess that's that's every year for you guys. But man, Mike, we were having such a great 2020 season.
Yeah, we absolutely were. I mean, you figure 3 points between the top 2 guys, some of the best. We were averaging, I think it was over 50,000 races or fans per race. Sold out Anaheim 1. It was an awesome year for the series, for the sport as a whole.
Yeah.
But I think from the glass half full side, when we pick back up, it's going to be much of the same, and really, I think that's where our focus is now. Yeah, it's a bummer that it stopped, and it stopped abruptly, and that the world's going through what the world's going through right now. But looking forward and finishing those final 7 rounds out is going to be exciting. With Eli and Ken and Justin and Chad's final ride.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of storylines happening, especially in the 250 East and West. So that's what I'm looking forward to is when we pick back up, what's it going to be like?
Yeah, it'll be weird and different. I think CR22 said he already wants to come back. So we did salvage that as one positive thing for 2022. Might see the 22 come back in. So Ty,
fantastic.
Hey, what's up, Dave? With so much uncertainty, like in the future, like what are you guys starting with to like get a spot or a venue, or how do you even go about like planning like the next 7 rounds?
So all this started literally the day we canceled it. So we were initially looking for one date to just make up that Indianapolis round, and it just goes to show you how naive we were at the time, because we expected we were just going to go to Detroit and we'd race a doubleheader in Detroit to make up Indy that we had to miss the week prior. So we were all just obviously a bit naive as to how the situation was going to develop. But honestly, we have. It sounds crazy, but we've got relationships with every major venue in the U.S. As well as North America. So our booking folks started going through and just putting them in order of priority. And most of the time we started, at first we started with venues that didn't have a home tenant. So those venues went to the top. It's a much shorter list than you may imagine. And from there we, just kept going. And we even went so far as to get on Wikipedia and put in North American stadiums to make sure we weren't missing any. But
let's go.
You know what? It's refreshing, Dave, that you guys are just like us. Some of us people.
Hit the Wikipedia.
The routing people sent me the list of stadiums, and I'm like, "There's no way that's all the stadiums in North America." So. You just Wikipedia.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Would there be a chance, Dave, to race in an arena or a stadium, like a stadium cross? Like, would you sacrifice a venue to get some of these races in if we had to? If it's venue or 7 races, like what skews more important? Do you feel?
I think the 7 races, and this is just off the top of my head, but I think the 7 races skews more important.
Okay.
I think nothing's really off the table at this point as far as venues go. We want to keep it in a stadium. There are some arenas out there that have large stadium floors, a handful, that could potentially work, but most, if not all of those, are university buildings. And depending on what they have going on at that time of year, that could potentially work. So honestly, there's not really too much that's off the table right now. The one thing we're trying to shy away from, because we got quite a bit of feedback from teams and a few riders, and Adam, you could probably speak to this, but we're trying to shy away from doubleheaders. So we don't want to do back-to-back races. Now, I'm not saying that it's 100% we'll get to be able to do that, but that's our goal, is not to do back-to-back next day.
I mean, after a race, I'm just
okay. Well, hold on a second. They did it for 20 years. I think you guys would be okay.
Yeah, I would be okay if the doubleheader was like a day race. But like when you get out of Supercross, after I'm done interviewing with Steve, he keeps me up till like 3 a.m, and then I have to wake up the next day.
Listen,
if it's a day race, I could do it.
Ricky Johnson did it for 10 years. You'll be fine.
Dude, Ricky Johnson was sponsored by Camel, dude. That's a whole different level.
I get it, though. But hey, also too, Dave and Mike, like, if we can come back, I mean, things are, this is hard to say, but if you talked about a no doubleheader, so say a Saturday and a Monday, or a Tuesday and a Sunday or something, there's a chance for a new audience to be exposed to the sport, depending on how we work these dates for the fans. Like, we could get a primetime spot, again, depending on what's going on, to show the spirit. If there's one bright light of this, Dave, that could be it.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's probably going to happen, because the window we're looking at right now, college football and the NFL dominate Saturday and Sunday. So, we're going to have to find another window, and we'll work with NBC and get the best one we can. So, that's a definite upside to all this. And I think in this situation, you got to look for the upside.
Yeah, exactly right. We could see something where on a Tuesday night we're racing Supercross and fans are like, "Oh, hey, what's this? There's nothing else on."
Dude,
let me watch some Supercross.
That'd be pretty sick.
Mike, please tell me you haven't heard, because I heard this a bunch, Mike, and I freaked out on my show a couple weeks ago. Please tell me, Mike, you haven't heard the ones about holding races at test tracks.
I think we've heard them all.
Okay. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take the people DMing me saying, "Why not have it at Honda's on a Friday and then Cowie's on a Monday?" I wanted to smash my phone, Muye. I really did.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've heard it all, but to be perfectly honest with you, it's good to hear that stuff, because, you know, we're trying to think of every, like Dave was saying, we're trying to think of every possible scenario to make this thing work. So while some of them, you know, don't really fit into the mold of Supercross, at least it gets our head thinking in different directions, you know, that might spark another idea and another contact and things to do. So, yeah, of course we've heard quite a few different ideas.
Right.
But
hey, but before we let you guys go, let's turn it to a few different topics in regards to Supercross. I guess. Hey, Dave, those nets work pretty good, don't they? Hey, Dave.
I love those nets, Steve.
Dave, you still there?
Nets.
Yeah. Can we get some more? What do you think?
Hey, Mike is now in charge of the nets.
Okay.
I love the nets. I think they're great. I'll let Mike handle it from here. He's in charge of those.
Dave, one time you told me you didn't think a net would work. I just wanted to put that on the record. I gave you my wacko net idea, and you were like, I don't think that would work. Just FYI.
You're right, but here's what I said, just so everybody knows. We can finally put this to bed.
We're clearing this up.
I said, and it was, I don't remember the year.
I don't either. It was a long time ago.
But Chad went over the first turn, went over the berm in the first turn in Seattle, and he came back. He came out last, obviously, the first time, and came back, and we had that discussion, and I said, Steve, the problem, I agree nets would work, but the problem with the net, and I use that example, if Chad would have went over the berm in the first turn and got caught in the net, he would have never come back to second or whatever he finished that night.
Right.
So I did technically say they wouldn't work, or I didn't technically say they wouldn't work. I just said maybe there's a better option.
Mike, we need more nets.
We're just going to exclude that comment. We need more
that's
nets.
Fine. We just, listen, I don't want to see any more flat turns in Supercross. The nets have allowed terrific bowl turns to come back.
I mean, I agree. The flat turns were lame.
We're gonna need about 3 or 4 more nets, Muye, out there. I think when we come back for Soupy.
We'll work on that, bud.
So
you got ice.
Okay, so one more here before I let you guys go. So obviously the nets are fantastic. We all believe in them. Tough blocks. Tough blocks. I've got an idea. I'm not gonna go into it here because it'll be 10 minutes of me explaining it. I've done it a couple of shows. We got these tough blocks that fly out in front of guys. For the most part, tough blocks have been a positive thing. They've saved a lot of riders. They look and act better than hay bales ever did. So tough blocks are good, but we've got to work on redesigning these things, Mike. I got ideas. Mike, on how to keep these things from snagging out in front of guys.
Hey, like I said earlier, by all means, send them over. I'm happy to look at anything. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, so willing to take a look at anything. We do have some some different prototypes. I actually have one sitting in my office right now that kind of needs some tweaking and things like that. But we have ideas similar to like our taper blocks that go down the start straight, where they're actually angled in to stay away from the foot peg. We have ideas with the different types of material that we can use. I think it's probably been 5-6 years now. We wrapped the tough block back in the day. It was just a 3-sided, I guess, cover that slid over top of the actual foam. Now we've wrapped the bottom of them so they don't catch on the chain or anything, or the foot peg or anything like that. Yeah. We're looking not just the tough blocks. Actually, in Indy would have been the first time it came out on inner 90-degree bowl turns or eyebrow turns, so that when the guys dive inside, it's not catching their foot peg. It's angled over. It's got an arc to it, so that it's rounded and not a square edge. So we're looking at all of that stuff all of the time. It does take time to obviously implement those types of changes, but we hope to have some new tough block inventory rolling out.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll send you some ideas. The nets have been one idea of my brilliance. I'll throw another.
Ideas aren't everything; it's execution, Steve.
I know. Right. I realize that. Before we let you go, I guess something I don't follow too much, But Dave, Monster Jam, obviously on hold as well. What kind of stuff are you juggling there? How's that? Like, that's worldwide also, although, again, I'm not familiar with the schedule and everything, but how's that working for you, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, that's another challenge in itself. You know, one of the factors that makes Monster Jam a bit, I won't say easier, but it's
different. Yeah.
As far as scheduling goes, is there were events already scheduled for later on in the summer.
Okay.
And there is no you know, outdoor motocross season to contend with. So
Sure.
Those events are still on the schedule.
Yep.
And Jamie Dawsing and Monster Jam staff are working toward making sure that those go off. So that's really it. You know,
Yeah.
we've canceled what we've had to, and now we're moving toward the fall and winter dates.
Yeah, I guess, those dates are done. They're set in stone already, right? So, I see what you mean, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not quite as many challenges as with Moto.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks to both of you for coming on. Real honest talk about the series. It's unbelievably sad and bummed out. I guess you just got to, like you said, look forward and when we're racing again. And it's unbelievable. Like I was telling the brothers here, we'll always remember this. The rest of our lives, we'll tell our kids about it. I'll tell my Basset Hounds about it. Where we were, what happened, you know, what kind of world we were living in. It's amazing. And, it's terrible for the series, but I guess we'll all hang in there, and I really hope and I believe we'll be racing in the fall, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. No, well, thank you for letting us come on, and I agree, Steve. It's definitely something we'll always remember, and our kids will probably remember. So,
yeah,
all we can do is look forward to what's to come, and remember how privileged we are to be able to do this. So.
Yeah, you're right. When it comes back, there might be this new appreciation, right, of racing and the series and everything else. Like, it'll be, maybe I won't be as grouchy, Prater.
That's all right. I'd miss you, man. If you weren't as grouchy, I don't know if I could handle it. So just fake it if you're not. But it's a pretty special thing that we all get to do. So I think we'll definitely appreciate it come round 11, whenever that is.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike, for the time. Thank you, Dave Prater. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
guys.
Miss you guys.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thanks. All
See
right,
ya.
that's Dave Prater and Mike Muye from Feld Motorsports. A good talk.
Yeah.
You know, I find it interesting. You know, when Dave was